Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Tammy's Channel Chats. I'm Tammy Langowski, an intuitive advisor to your questions. I offer reading sessions, and you can get a hold of me at tammysintuitive.com. I have a contact form there if you'd like to find out anything about what I do or like to schedule a session. You can find me also on social media, Tammy's Intuitive Services at Facebook and Instagram. I also have the additional YouTube channel with Julie Hawkins, another intuitive advisor that we do together called number two, Psychic Moms. So check us out on that one as well. Thanks for all your subscribes and likes. And please, if you haven't already, I would love to have you do so if you're enjoying these videos and all. So I come on here to give you some channeled messages. I have a really good question today. They're always good questions, if you know this. They are good questions. And this one is, the question that I have for this one is, let's see. Is it possible to get too many psychic readings or seeing a spiritual advisor in a specific period of time? Also, if you're going to get them, how often should we be seeking external advice? So I'm going to kind of start out and let my guides talk to that. And then I will add any information to it just from my own experience, which is probably going to be along with what we're saying anyway. But the first part of that, is it possible to get too many psychic readings or seeing a spiritual advisor in a specific period of time? Yeah, it is possible to do this because sometimes there are people who are not wanting to actually hear the information in a way that is guiding them towards doing something about it, if that makes sense. So basically, it's more about wanting just to have the connection with a psychic or a spiritual advisor than actually doing the homework, as we would call it. So can it be addicting like anything else? It can be. It can be for some. Honestly, well, that's me going into it. I'll do that in a minute. Let's get back to them. Although we do recommend sometimes also seeing others than one, probably a good idea, kind of like getting a second opinion, from a doctor or something like that. But we think if you like someone and you feel good with their energy, then that is fine too, as far as sounds like they're talking about, as far as working with somebody specifically. There are those, as you know, who they're telling me right now who give different ways of readings, who have different styles of readings and different abilities that they kind of pull from. So that's what they're talking about right now. And we do feel that they are advantageous to you. Mediums, they said, are put on the planet to help you, to be able to bring forth messages. Not saying you don't get your own messages, because you do. We talk to you on a daily basis. We drop in messages for you. But some of you are not at the place of learning, we'll say spiritually, to open up to hearing. And that is why mediums do what they do. And we are able to communicate through them to deliver messages to you. That is something we've been telling you all along, or maybe there's some new things that you're just not open enough to hearing for yourself or being consciously connected to the messages. Maybe, in other words, you're kind of saying, maybe you're just explaining them away, but, not really paying attention. So certainly going to an advisor or a psychic, we'll just say a psychic, is fine. If again, you are feeling a good connection with that person, and sometimes it's like anything else, a good referral is a good idea. So I'm going to put my glasses back on here to read, because I want to make sure I'm kind of going along with what we're saying here. Is it possible to get too many psychic readings? Again, yes, we're going to say yes to that because it can become addicting. I am going to put my own thoughts on that in a moment here. Seeing a spiritual advisor in a specific period of time. Yeah, as long as you know that you've been working on the information that's been given to you and you can process it. Again, they're telling me it's okay to to talk about what kind of I feel about the whole thing and my experience. Also, if you're going to get them, how often should we be seeking external advice? When you are unable to really come up with your own information, we would say reach out. You do want to be careful how often you're reaching out. If it is every day, then there could be a situation there, because ultimately we want to see you be able to receive your own messages. That is part of your process of being on the earth plane. And sometimes it can take a lifetime. Sometimes you don't have that connection, that really conscious connection in a lifetime. It's always there. Remember, we all have our guides, our angels that are talking to us and helping us. But sometimes, it can take a lifetime for people to be in a place where they can really open up to that information. So there's nothing wrong with doing it. We would caution how often you are doing it and asking what your intention is, asking yourself what your intention is in reaching out, let's say, yet again. Maybe you just had one a few days ago and you're connecting with an intuitive again for information. Is it because you really are feeling some things and you want to validate that? Often that's what readings are. So I'm going to kind of go into what my whole experience with this. I've been asked this question before, and it's a fair question to ask. It's a good question to ask. Some people will ask me, Tammy, how often should I have a reading with you? And of course, right away, I always say, you are the best judge of that. First of all, I will never tell somebody, oh, you must come back to me at this, time, and be a little careful about anybody who might be telling you those sorts of things. I would say there's been times in my experience, and honestly, not really that often, but I have had where probably honestly a couple of times is all, that I've had to suggest to a client that it might be better for them to take some time with this, not reach out again especially if it's the same questions. That's what I would find, that you've been given information, the best that we are able to share with you. And then somebody might still be coming back with the same questions again in a very short time frame. Probably at the beginning of when I was doing all readings, I'm learning too. I was learning my business, I'm learning everything. And, I would start to see that. It wasn't, again, honestly, it wasn't often. I certainly wasn't telling them that they needed to get back in touch with me. But if it got to be, if it was the same questions and they hadn't heard what was delivered for them, then I would suggest that they take a break and they work on their energy, maybe give them some suggestions on that. And also, if they feel they have more questions, that maybe another intuitive might be okay. Again, not that we're asking them to go, psychic hopping, but just that there could be maybe some value in hearing somebody else about something that's really important to them in this short amount of time. Most of the time, I don't have that. And what I will have, and again, I get totally, is somebody who might be going through a process of something. And then very similar to therapy or counseling, they may prefer to do it intuitively instead of seeing a therapist once a week, to work through something to see how they're doing. Maybe they are doing the homework and they're wanting to get a check on it from a spiritual perspective as to how it's working for them, from not that they don't check in on themselves, but you get what I mean. It's just another way to get some valuable information. So in those cases, I think those are fine, because there's something that the client is wanting to work through and just to get some more clarity. I love that. And I absolutely think it's great. We put a lot of value, we meaning our guides often do, in traditional therapy and seeing a therapist when it's necessary. I always tell people, obviously, I'm not a licensed therapist, nor do I ever claim to be one. I'm a bit of a natural therapist, if there is such a title, and I've always been. I'm sure many of you empaths have been that way. So, but I have a lot of people tell me they like the readings in lieu of therapy, that they actually get more from that. And if they do, great. That's wonderful. I love to hear that. for them. But often we do get information for a client, or I get information for a client that where they are, they are suggesting that they do go to see somebody, a professional in that way that, can help them as well. And then if they want to have an intuitive reading as well at some point, if they can, afford to do all of that and it's comfortable for them, then sure, it's a different perspective. So we would say use caution. If you find that you are wanting to reach out to psychics, intuitives often, how much is often? It's so individual, certainly every day. Then there's something to be a little concerned about with that. Again, people can be addicted to these kinds of things, if it's not used properly. Again, that's why I tell people, if they ask, well, I'd really like to have a session, I will just tell them, and when should I will again just say, sit with the information that you're getting, give it some time. And then honestly, I look at it individually for that person. I'll ask my guides, very honestly, what do you think for that person? Sometimes it might be give it a month, might be give it 3 months, if you're wanting to have a check-in again. But it's a great question, this question, because it can be, I think, overused for some people. And again, I'm going to say, I probably said this on some other thing, maybe with Julie and I or something, but always do be, or maybe higher healing, do be a little cautious if you run across somebody who is really suggesting strongly that you continue to work with them. The only time I haven't done that, but I mean, the only time I've said something even kind of similar would be to say, this could be something that we can work on if that's of interest to you. But even that's pretty rare that I say that. So only because I know that maybe if we work together, whether it's through visualizations or that kind of thing, that there could be something helpful for them with that, or just getting a check on it. So yeah, just gonna go back to the question here. And if for any of this that we're talking about, if there's more questions that you're thinking about or that I'm not answering, please do put them in the comments on the video, and I will look a little bit more. Okay. I think we kind of addressed that. I just always like to make sure that I went through, what you're looking at. So I'm going to say a lot of it is just kind of feel, you're going to, talk it over with your intuitive advisor. So if you are interested in maybe seeing that person again, you can ask that question. I know, again, for me, I will look at it from what I feel intuitively and what I'm receiving from our guides that's recommended for you. And of course, you get to be the boss on that. You always are in control of what feels right for you. Okay, so again, thank you for that wonderful question. And if this spurs any more questions as a result of this, then please ask me about it, or any other questions that you want me to check in on. I'd love to address those for you. So thank you so much. And again, if you find value in these, please share. I'm so thankful for all the subscribes. And if you haven't, please do. I would love it. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Take care. Have a good week.